I'm sitting in a Detroit courtroom watching my Uncle Thomas get handcuffed. The judge just sentenced him to 5 years in prison for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. "Mr. Hayes," the judge says, "you stole over $400,000 from your own sister, a woman with Down syndrome who trusted you completely. You are her legal guardian. You were supposed to protect her. Instead, you robbed her blind." Uncle Thomas looks back at me as the bailiff leads him away. No remorse, just anger that he got caught. Good, because for 3 years, he made me seem like the paranoid niece causing trouble, the one making false accusations against a devoted brother. But I wasn't making anything up. I was right. And today, justice was served. Let me back up and tell you about my Aunt Linda. About how my Uncle Thomas became her guardian after my grandmother died, and how I discovered he'd been systematically stealing her disability payments, her inheritance, her entire life savings, while she trusted him completely. This is about how I exposed him, and how it almost tore our family apart in the process. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button because this channel is all about exposing family members who exploit vulnerable people and getting justice. Smash that like button if you're ready for over an hour of financial fraud, detective work, courtroom drama, and a predator finally facing consequences. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from: Detroit, Chicago, Houston, and if you have a family member with disabilities, let me know. This story might help you protect them. This is going to be detailed and intense. Let's get into it. My name is Jasmine Hayes. I'm 32 years old and I live in Detroit, Michigan. My Aunt Linda is 55 years old. She has Down syndrome. She's the sweetest, most trusting person you'll ever meet. She loves Disney movies, gospel music, and making people laugh. She gives the best hugs. She remembers everyone's birthday. She's pure joy in human form. Aunt Linda is my father's younger sister. My grandmother, Dorothy Hayes, took care of Linda her whole life. Linda lived with Grandma in a small house in the Brightmoor neighborhood of Detroit. Linda can do a lot for herself. She dresses herself, makes simple meals, does laundry, but she needs help with complex tasks: managing money, paying bills, making medical appointments, understanding legal documents. Grandma handled all of that. For 52 years, Grandma was Linda's caretaker, advocate, and best friend. Then, 3 years ago, Grandma died. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. And that's when everything changed for Aunt Linda. Grandma Dorothy had 3 children. My dad, Marcus Hayes, he's a teacher at Detroit Public Schools, married to my mom, Sharon. They had me and my younger sister, Brianna. Uncle Thomas Hayes, he's a car salesman at a dealership in Dearborn, divorced, 2 kids who don't talk to him much, always had money problems despite making decent money. And Aunt Linda, the baby of the family, born with Down syndrome in 1970, back when doctors told parents to institutionalize kids like her. But Grandma refused. "Linda is my daughter, and she's staying home with me," Grandma said. Aunt Linda received Social Security disability income, about $1,200 a month. She also had a job at a grocery store bagging groceries 3 days a week, made minimum wage but loved it. Her coworkers adored her. When Grandma died, she left everything split between her 3 children. The house was paid off, worth about $80,000. She had savings, another $60,000, life insurance, $50,000. So Linda's share was about $63,000, plus her monthly disability check, plus her small paycheck from the grocery store. She wasn't rich, but she was financially secure, as long as someone managed her money properly. After Grandma died, the family had to decide what would happen with Aunt Linda. "She can't live alone," Uncle Thomas said at the family meeting after the funeral. "I know," my dad said, "but who's going to take care of her?" "I will," Uncle Thomas said. Everyone was surprised. Uncle Thomas had never been particularly involved in Linda's care. Grandma did everything. You sure, Thomas? Dad asked. It's a big responsibility. She's my sister. Of course I'm sure. She could live with us, my mom offered. We have the spare bedroom. No, Uncle Thomas said quickly. Linda should stay in Mom's house. That's her home. She's comfortable there. I'll move in with her. Take care of her. It seemed generous, noble even, but I had doubts. Dad, Uncle Thomas has always been bad with money, I said privately to my father. Are we sure he should be in charge of Linda's finances? He's her brother. He'll do right by her. But shouldn't we set up some kind of oversight? Like have two people sign off on major expenses? You're being paranoid, Jasmine. Thomas isn't going to steal from his disabled sister. I wanted to believe that, but something felt off. Uncle Thomas filed paperwork to become Linda's legal guardian. The court approved it. He was family. He was volunteering to care for her. He seemed suitable. As Linda's guardian, Uncle Thomas had complete control over her finances. Her disability checks went into an account he managed. Her inheritance money was in an account he controlled. He paid her bills. He made her financial decisions. Total control. No oversight. And that's when the stealing began. I visited Aunt Linda regularly. Every Sunday, I'd stop by the house to spend time with her. We'd watch movies, bake cookies, talk about her week. About 6 months after Uncle Thomas moved in, I started noticing changes. The house looked shabby, paint peeling, gutters falling apart, the yard overgrown. Uncle Thomas, the house needs maintenance, I mentioned. Yeah, I know, I'll get to it. But he never did. Linda's clothes looked worn, old. I'd bought her new outfits for Christmas, but 6 months later, she was still wearing the same old things. Linda, where are the clothes I got you? I don't know. Thomas says we need to save money. Save money? Linda had a steady income and inheritance money. Why did she need to save money? I also noticed Linda wasn't going to her usual activities anymore. She'd always gone to a day program for adults with developmental disabilities 3 times a week. She loved it. Arts and crafts, music, socializing. Why isn't Linda going to her program? I asked Uncle Thomas. It's expensive. Can't afford it right now. The program is subsidized. It only costs $50 a month. Still can't afford it. That made no sense. Linda's disability check was $1,200 a month. Her bills couldn't be more than $600, $700. Where was the rest of the money going? Over the next year, Linda's quality of life noticeably declined. She stopped getting her hair done at the salon she'd gone to for years. Thomas says it's too expensive. She stopped going to church. Thomas says the car isn't working. She wore the same clothes over and over. Thomas says we can't buy new ones right now. Her favorite restaurant, a Red Lobster where we'd celebrated every birthday, was suddenly off limits. Thomas says we need to eat at home. Linda wasn't going to the doctor for her regular checkups. Thomas says we'll go soon. Everything was about saving money, but where was the money going? I started asking more questions. Uncle Thomas, I thought Linda's disability check covered her basic needs. It does, but there are other expenses, house repairs, medical bills, stuff you don't see. Can I see the budget? Maybe I can help figure out where to cut costs. I've got it handled, Jasmine. Don't worry about it. But I was worried because Linda looked sad, neglected, like she was being deprived of basic comforts. The breaking point came when Linda developed a toothache. My tooth hurts, Linda told me during one of my visits. How long has it hurt? Long time. I told Thomas. He said we'll go to the dentist soon. How long ago did you tell him? Maybe 2 months? 2 months with a toothache and no dental care? I called Uncle Thomas immediately. Linda needs to see a dentist. Her tooth has been bothering her for 2 months. I know, I'll make an appointment. When? Soon. Uncle Thomas, she's in pain. She needs to see someone now. Jasmine, I said I'll handle it. He hung up on me. I called my dad. Dad, Uncle Thomas won't take Linda to the dentist. She's been in pain for 2 months. I'm sure he's just been busy. Busy for 2 months? Dad, something's wrong. I think Uncle Thomas is neglecting Linda. That's a serious accusation. I'm serious. Come see for yourself. Look at the house. Look at Linda. Something's not right. Dad finally agreed to visit. What he saw alarmed him. Dad came with me to Linda's house the following Sunday. Uncle Thomas wasn't there. He was out running errands. Dad looked around the house. The disrepair, the lack of basic maintenance, Linda's worn clothing, the near-empty refrigerator. "Where's all the food?" Dad asked. "Thomas says we eat simple," Linda said. Dad opened the pantry. Barely anything there. Some canned goods, old bread. "Linda, when's the last time you went grocery shopping?" "I don't know. Thomas buys stuff sometimes." Dad took Linda to the dentist that week, paid out of pocket because Uncle Thomas hadn't gotten around to scheduling it. Linda had a cavity that had gotten so bad it required a root canal. "This should have been treated months ago," the dentist said. "She must have been in significant pain." Dad confronted Uncle Thomas. "Why didn't you take Linda to the dentist?" "I was going to. I just hadn't gotten around to it." "For 2 months? She needed a root canal, Thomas. She was suffering." "I said I was going to handle it." "Are you handling her finances properly? Because that house is falling apart and Linda doesn't have proper food or clothes. Her disability check doesn't cover everything. $1,200 a month should cover way more than what I'm seeing. Where's the money going, Thomas?" "That's none of your business. I'm her guardian, not you." That's when Dad and I decided we needed to investigate. I'm a paralegal. I work for a law firm in downtown Detroit. I know how to research, how to find financial records, how to spot fraud. I started with public records, nothing concerning there. Then I asked Linda if I could see her bank statements, just to make sure everything's okay. "I don't have those," Linda said. "Thomas keeps all the papers." "Can you ask Thomas to show them to me?" "He says it's private." Red flag. I called Linda's bank, explaining that I was concerned about my disabled aunt's finances. They said they couldn't give me information without a court order or guardian authorization. So I talked to a lawyer at my firm who specialized in elder law and guardianship issues. "If you suspect financial exploitation, you can petition the court to review the guardianship," the lawyer, Carolyn, explained. "But you'll need evidence. Suspicion isn't enough." "How do I get evidence if he controls everything?" "Get creative. Document what you observe. Talk to people who interact with Linda. Check public records for any red flags." I started documenting everything. Linda's living conditions, her lack of proper care, the house disrepair, her statements about not having money for basic things. I also started asking around, talking to Linda's former day program, her church, her workplace. That's when I learned something shocking. I called the day program Linda used to attend. "Hi, I'm calling about my aunt, Linda Hayes. She used to come to your program but stopped about a year ago." "Oh yes, Linda, we miss her. She was such a joy. Can you tell me why she stopped coming?" "Her brother, her guardian, said the family couldn't afford it anymore." "The program costs $50 a month, correct?" "Actually, it's free for Linda. She qualified for the state subsidy program. We tried to tell her brother that, but he said she couldn't come anyway." My blood ran cold. "It's free?" "Yes, has been for 2 years. Linda's disability status qualified her." Uncle Thomas had lied. He told us the program was too expensive, but it was free. He just didn't want Linda going because... why? Because it was easier for him if she stayed home? Is there any record of this, the subsidy approval? We sent letters to her home address. The Guardian should have them. Uncle Thomas had been getting letters saying Linda's program was free, and he'd been lying to everyone about it being too expensive. I documented everything, got copies of the letters from the program. Next, I looked into Linda's inheritance from Grandma. Grandma's will was public record. I pulled it from probate court. Linda inherited $63,000 plus a third of the house value, about $27,000 once the house was sold. So Linda should have received about $90,000 total. Where was that money? I talked to the executor of Grandma's estate, the family lawyer who handled the probate. Mr. Johnson, can you tell me what happened with Linda Hayes' inheritance? It was distributed according to the will. Her share went into an account controlled by her guardian, Thomas Hayes. Do you know the account? I have the account number from the distribution paperwork. He gave me the information. I checked online public records. The account was at a local bank. I couldn't access the account directly, but I could see when it was opened and who was listed on it. Opened 3 years ago, Thomas Hayes, guardian, Linda Hayes, beneficiary. I wanted to see the balance, the transactions, everything. I needed a court order to access that information. With Carolyn's help, I filed a petition with the probate court asking for a review of Uncle Thomas's guardianship. The petition outlined my concerns: Linda's declining quality of life, lack of proper medical care, dentist incident, house disrepair despite available funds, false claims about program costs, refusal to provide financial documentation. This is enough to get the court's attention, Carolyn said. They take guardianship abuse seriously. The court scheduled a hearing. Uncle Thomas was served notice. He had to appear and answer to the allegations. He was furious. "How dare you accuse me of stealing from my own sister?" he yelled at me over the phone. "Then show us the financial records. Prove you're managing her money properly." "I don't have to prove anything to you." "You have to prove it to the court." "This is gonna tear the family apart, Jasmine." "You tore the family apart when you started stealing from Linda." He hung up. The hearing was held at the Wayne County Probate Court in downtown Detroit. Me, Dad, Mom, and Carolyn on one side, Uncle Thomas and his lawyer on the other. Linda was there too, confused about what was happening. The judge reviewed my petition, asked Uncle Thomas to respond. "Your Honor, these accusations are baseless," Uncle Thomas's lawyer said. "Mr. Hayes has been caring for his sister faithfully. The family members making these claims are interfering with his guardianship." "Then you'll have no problem providing financial records," the judge said. "We'd prefer to keep those private. This is a guardianship review. Privacy isn't an option. Provide comprehensive financial records for the past 3 years within 30 days, or I'll appoint an independent guardian ad litem to investigate." Uncle Thomas's face went red. "Your Honor, we'll provide the records," his lawyer said quickly. "Good. I also want a home inspection. Social services will visit Linda's residence to assess living conditions. This hearing is continued for 60 days. Mr. Hayes, you're on notice that this court takes allegations of financial exploitation very seriously." We'd won the first round, but Uncle Thomas knew what was coming, and he started covering his tracks. After the hearing, Uncle Thomas suddenly became attentive. He painted the house, fixed the gutters, bought Linda new clothes, filled the refrigerator, started taking her to church again. "Look, Linda's fine," he told other family members. Jasmine was making a big deal out of nothing. He was trying to make it look like he'd been a good guardian all along. But I documented the timing. All these improvements happened after the court hearing. Suspicious. Dad noticed too. He's trying to cover his tracks. "Which means there's something to hide," I said. The deadline came for Uncle Thomas to provide financial records. His lawyer submitted some documents, bank statements, receipts, a budget spreadsheet. Carolyn reviewed them. These are incomplete. Half the transactions don't have explanations. There are large cash withdrawals with no documentation. And look at this. She pointed to the balance on Linda's inheritance account. It should have had about $90,000. It had $12,000. Where's the other $78,000? I asked. That's what we're going to find out. Uncle Thomas stole $78,000 from my disabled aunt, and we're about to prove it. Hit that like button if you're as angry as I was. Drop a comment telling me what you think should happen to family members who exploit disabled relatives. And subscribe, because this case is about to blow wide open. Let's keep going. The court appointed a forensic accountant to review Uncle Thomas's financial management of Linda's accounts. His name was Robert Chen. He specialized in financial exploitation cases. Robert requested complete access to all of Linda's accounts, bank statements, credit cards, receipts, everything. Uncle Thomas had to comply or face contempt of court charges. Robert worked for 6 weeks analyzing 3 years of financial records. Then he presented his findings to the court. We were all there for the report. Your Honor, Robert said, I've identified significant financial irregularities. He showed spreadsheets, charts, timeline of transactions. Miss Linda Hayes receives $1,200 per month in disability income. Her monthly expenses should be approximately $800, rent equivalent, food, utilities, medical care. That leaves $400 monthly surplus. Over 3 years, that's approximately $14,400 that should have accumulated in savings. The account shows no such accumulation. Additionally, Miss Hayes inherited $90,000. Of that, I can account for approximately $12,000 remaining. The other $78,000 has been depleted through a pattern of withdrawals and expenditures that don't benefit Miss Hayes. The judge leaned forward. Can you give examples? Certainly. Large cash withdrawals totaling $32,000 with no documentation. Payments to auto dealerships. Mr. Hayes bought himself 2 cars using funds from Miss Hayes' account. Payments to credit cards in Mr. Hayes' name. Vacation expenses, restaurant charges. None of these benefit Miss Hayes. Robert's report detailed exactly how Uncle Thomas had stolen from Linda. Year 1, stole $28,000, bought himself a used BMW, $18,000, paid off his credit cards, $6,000, took a vacation to Vegas, $4,000. Year 2, stole $31,000, bought himself a new Ford F-150 truck, $22,000, paid his child support arrears, $5,000, various cash withdrawals, $4,000. Year 3, stole $19,000, paid his girlfriend's rent, $8,000, various personal expenses, $11,000. Total, $78,000 stolen over 3 years. And that didn't include the $14,400 from Linda's monthly disability checks that should have been saved, but was spent on Uncle Thomas's personal expenses. Grand total, over $92,000 stolen from a disabled woman who trusted him completely. Linda's quality of life had declined because Uncle Thomas was spending her money on himself instead of on her care. After Robert's report, the judge ordered Uncle Thomas to explain himself. Mr. Hayes, how do you respond to these findings? Uncle Thomas's lawyer whispered to him. Then Uncle Thomas spoke. Your Honor, I can explain. Linda didn't need all that money. I was just borrowing it. I was going to pay it back. Borrowing? The judge's voice was incredulous. You're her guardian. You don't borrow from the person you're supposed to protect. I had financial difficulties. I was going to pay her back once I got on my feet. You bought 2 cars, went on vacation, paid your girlfriend's rent and your sister wore the same clothes for 2 years and went without medical care. Does that sound like responsible guardianship? Uncle Thomas had no answer. Mr. Hayes, this court finds that you have grossly violated your duties as guardian. You've stolen from a vulnerable adult who depended on you. This is not just financial mismanagement. This is theft, fraud, exploitation. The judge removed Uncle Thomas as Linda's guardian immediately. You're terminated as guardian effective immediately. I'm appointing a professional guardian to manage Ms. Hayes' affairs, and I'm referring this case to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office for criminal investigation. Uncle Thomas went pale. The prosecutor's office took the case seriously. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult is a felony in Michigan, especially when the perpetrator is in a position of trust, like a guardian. The prosecutor filed charges. Count 1, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, felony. Count 2, embezzlement, felony. Count 3, fraud, felony. Each charge carried potential prison time. Uncle Thomas was arrested, booked, released on bond. The family was devastated. My dad was heartbroken. That's my brother. How could he do this to Linda? Some family members defended Uncle Thomas. He made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve prison. But most of us were on Linda's side. He stole from a disabled woman. He deserves whatever he gets. The court appointed a professional guardian, a woman named Patricia Williams, who specialized in caring for adults with developmental disabilities. Patricia immediately improved Linda's life. She got Linda back into her day program, took her shopping for new clothes, made sure she had proper food, scheduled all her medical appointments. Linda should have been living like this all along, Patricia said. She had the resources. Thomas was just spending them on himself. Patricia also filed a civil lawsuit against Uncle Thomas to recover the stolen money. Even if he goes to prison, he still needs to pay back what he stole, Patricia explained. Linda's quality of life transformed. She was happy again, going to activities, socializing, getting proper care. I like Patricia, Linda told me. She's nice to me. I'm glad, Linda. You deserve someone who treats you well. Thomas wasn't nice anymore, Linda said sadly. He used to be nice. Then he changed. I know, sweetie, but you're safe now. The trial was set for 8 months after the charges were filed. The prosecutor wanted me to testify. So did Dad, and Robert Chen, the forensic accountant, and Patricia, the new guardian. Your testimony will show the decline in Linda's quality of life while Thomas was stealing from her, the prosecutor explained. Will Linda have to testify? I asked. Probably. The defense might try to claim Linda didn't mind, that she was happy. We need her to tell the jury how she felt. I worried about Linda testifying. She gets confused easily. Public speaking makes her nervous. But the prosecutor was gentle with her during preparation. Linda, we just want you to tell the truth about what life was like with Thomas. Can you do that? I can try, Linda said. The trial began on a Tuesday in October, Wayne County Circuit Court. The prosecutor laid out the case in opening statements. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about betrayal. Linda Hayes is a woman with Down syndrome. She's trusting, kind, vulnerable. She needed someone to protect her after her mother died, someone to manage her finances, someone to ensure she lived a good life. That someone was supposed to be her brother, Thomas Hayes. Instead, he stole from her $92,000 over 3 years. He bought himself cars, went on vacation, paid his bills. And Linda? She went without proper food, clothing, medical care. She suffered while he lived well on her money. Uncle Thomas's defense attorney argued that it was a misunderstanding. Thomas Hayes made mistakes, yes, but he didn't steal, he borrowed. He fully intended to pay his sister back. This is a family matter that's been blown out of proportion." The jury listened. Their faces gave nothing away. I testified on day 2. The prosecutor asked me to describe Linda before Uncle Thomas became guardian, then after. Before, Linda was happy. She went to her programs, she had nice clothes, she went out to eat, she was living a full life within her capabilities. And after Uncle Thomas became guardian, she declined rapidly. No activities, no socializing, worn clothes, house falling apart. She missed medical appointments. She looked sad. "Did you bring this to Thomas's attention?" "Multiple times. He always said they couldn't afford things, but I knew Linda had income and inheritance. The math didn't add up." The defense attorney cross-examined me. "Miss Hayes, isn't it true you were jealous that Thomas was chosen as guardian instead of your father?" "No. We offered to take Linda in. Thomas insisted he wanted to care for her." "Isn't it true you've always had issues with Thomas?" "I've always been suspicious of people who mistreat vulnerable family members, if that's what you mean." The attorney didn't like that answer. Robert Chen's testimony was devastating. He brought charts, spreadsheets, timelines, everything documented. Over 3 years, Thomas Hayes systematically drained Linda Hayes's accounts. Here are the car purchases. Here are the credit card payments. Here are the cash withdrawals. None of these benefited Linda. "Could there be legitimate explanations?" the prosecutor asked. "No. These are clearly personal expenses. Car registrations in Thomas's name, credit cards in Thomas's name, vacation hotel rooms booked by Thomas. There's no ambiguity here." The defense tried to argue that maybe Thomas was managing household expenses that benefited both of them. The house expenses are documented separately. Utilities, property taxes, basic maintenance, those are accounted for. The $92,000 I've identified went exclusively to Thomas's personal benefit. Linda took the stand. She was nervous, fidgeting with her hands. The prosecutor was gentle. "Linda, do you know why you're here today?" "Because Thomas took money?" "That's right. Did you know he was taking your money?" "No, he said we didn't have money. He said we had to save." "But did you see Thomas buying things for himself?" "Yes, he got a new truck. It was big and red. I liked it." "Did he buy you new things?" "No, he said we couldn't afford it." "How did that make you feel?" Linda's eyes filled with tears. "Sad. I wanted new shoes. My shoes had holes, but Thomas said no." The courtroom was silent. You could see the jury's faces. They were moved. "Linda, did you give Thomas permission to spend your money on himself?" "No, that's my money from Grandma. Thomas said he'd keep it safe." "Did he keep it safe?" "No," Linda said, crying now. "He took it." The defense attorney barely cross-examined. What could he say? Linda had made it clear. "We're about to get the verdict. After months of investigation and a week-long trial, the jury is deliberating. Hit that like button if Linda's testimony broke your heart. Drop a comment telling me what sentence you think Uncle Thomas deserves. And if you haven't subscribed, do it now. Let's see justice served. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, everyone stood. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On count 1, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, how do you find? Guilty. On count 2, embezzlement, how do you find? Guilty. On count 3, fraud, how do you find? Guilty. Guilty on all counts. Uncle Thomas sat frozen. His lawyer patted his shoulder. Dad was crying in the gallery. Linda looked confused. What does guilty mean? It means Thomas did something wrong, I explained quietly, and he's going to be punished. Oh, okay. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. At sentencing, the prosecutor asked for the maximum, 10 years in prison. This defendant betrayed his sister in the worst possible way. He stole her future, her security, her dignity. He deserves the maximum penalty. The defense asked for probation. Mr. Hayes has no prior criminal record. He's a father. He made terrible mistakes, but he's not a danger to society. The judge considered both arguments. Mr. Hayes, what you did is unconscionable. Your sister is one of society's most vulnerable members. She trusted you completely. You exploited that trust to fund your lifestyle while she suffered. The court sentences you to 5 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. You'll also pay full restitution, $92,000 plus interest, to be paid from any assets you have and from future earnings. Additionally, you are permanently prohibited from serving as anyone's guardian or having access to any vulnerable adult's finances. 5 years. Could have been worse, could have been better. Uncle Thomas was led away in handcuffs. Getting the $92,000 back was complicated. Uncle Thomas had spent most of it. The cars he'd bought had depreciated. His assets were minimal. Patricia, Linda's guardian, sued Uncle Thomas civilly, won a judgment for the full amount plus interest. We'll garnish his wages when he gets out of prison, Patricia explained. It'll take years, maybe decades, but Linda will get something back eventually. We also sued to seize Uncle Thomas's assets. His cars were sold, his bank accounts emptied, his tax refunds garnished. Over time, we recovered about $35,000. Not everything, but something. With Patricia as her guardian, Linda's life improved dramatically. She went back to her day program 3 times a week, made new friends, participated in activities. She got a new wardrobe, proper medical care, dental checkups, everything she'd been denied. The house was fixed up, painted, repaired, made comfortable again. Linda even went on vacation, a trip to Disney World organized by her day program, her first vacation in years. I saw Mickey Mouse, she told me excitedly, and Minnie, and I got ice cream. She was happy, really, genuinely happy. Do you miss Uncle Thomas? I asked her once. Linda thought about it. A little. He's my brother, but he wasn't nice to me. No, he wasn't. Patricia is nice. I like her better. I'm glad, Linda. The trial divided our family. My dad was heartbroken. His brother was in prison for hurting their sister. I should have seen it, Dad said. I should have paid more attention. It's not your fault, I told him. Thomas is a grown man. He made his choices. Some family members still defended Uncle Thomas. 5 years is too harsh. He's family. We should have handled this privately. But most of us disagreed. He stole from Linda. He deserved prison. Uncle Thomas's own kids, my cousins, stopped speaking to him. He's always been selfish, his daughter said. But stealing from Aunt Linda? That's unforgivable. Uncle Thomas served his time, got released after 3.5 years for good behavior. I haven't seen him since. Neither has Linda. Neither does Dad. He's out of our lives, and that's how it should be. After everything that happened, I became an advocate for protecting vulnerable adults. I volunteer with organizations that help families set up proper guardianships with oversight. The problem is, guardians have too much power and not enough accountability, I tell people. If there's no oversight, abuse can happen easily. I share Linda's story, with her permission, at community presentations. Here's what to watch for: declining quality of life, isolation from friends and activities, poor living conditions despite available resources, guardian refusing to provide financial documentation, unexplained financial changes. If you see these signs, speak up. File a complaint with the probate court. Get an investigation started. I also push for legislative changes. Michigan now has stricter guardianship oversight laws, partly because of cases like Linda's. Here's what this experience taught me. Trust your gut. I knew something was wrong early on. I should have pushed harder sooner. Document everything. My documentation of Linda's declining condition was crucial to the case. Don't let family stop you from seeking justice. People said I was tearing the family apart. No, Uncle Thomas did that when he started stealing. Get legal help. I couldn't have done this without Carolyn, the lawyer who helped navigate the guardianship system. Vulnerable adults need advocates. Linda couldn't advocate for herself. Someone had to. Financial abuse is real abuse. It's not just borrowing, it's theft, it's exploitation. It causes real harm. The system works, but slowly. From first suspicion to conviction took 3 years, but justice did happen. If you have a family member with a disability who needs a guardian, here's my advice. 1. Set up oversight from the beginning. Require the guardian to provide regular financial reports to the family or a neutral third party. 2. Consider professional guardians. Family isn't always best. Professional guardians are trained, regulated, and accountable. 3. Visit regularly. Physical presence keeps guardians accountable. They know someone's watching. 4. Know the warning signs of financial exploitation. Sudden changes in financial status. Unpaid bills despite adequate income. Luxuries for the guardian, deprivation for the vulnerable adult. The guardian is refusing to answer financial questions. Isolation of a vulnerable adult from family or friends. 5. Don't be afraid to report suspicions. Better to investigate and be wrong than to stay silent and let abuse continue. Remember, you're protecting someone who can't protect themselves. That's more important than keeping family peace. Linda deserved better than what Uncle Thomas gave her. Every vulnerable adult deserves proper care and protection. Thank you for watching this entire story. If this story opened your eyes to how financial abuse happens, hit that subscribe button. This channel exposes family predators and shows how justice can prevail. Smash that like button if you're glad Uncle Thomas went to prison, or if Linda's story touched your heart, or if you learned something about protecting vulnerable adults. Drop a comment. Do you have a family member with disabilities? How do you ensure they're protected from financial exploitation? Share your strategies. They might help someone else. Check out the videos on screen for more stories about family members who betrayed trust and faced consequences. Remember, vulnerable adults depend on us to protect them. Be vigilant, be proactive, be an advocate. Linda is thriving now because someone cared enough to investigate. Be that person for the vulnerable adults in your life. Thanks for watching. Stay strong.